Right, so which one should come first?
Systems.
Fix the system,
No,
then fix the attitude.
systems should always come first. Because without systems and structures, people would do anything that they want.
Get ready. You are about to be provoked, inspired, and empowered. It's the Diasporan Discourse, projecting the African ingenuity in the diaspora.
Hi, my name is Fifi Bosheba Aidan. You can call me FBI. Welcome to Diasporan Discourse. If you are new on this channel, subscribe to Diasporan Discourse on YouTube and follow and like us on Facebook and on Instagram at Diasporan Discourse. On Diasporan Discourse, it's all about Africa and Africans in the diaspora. Subscribe to revealing interviews, discussions, commentaries, and news about Africa and the exploits of Africans in the diaspora. Stick around, we'll be back shortly. My guest on Diasporan Discourse is a Ghanaian, a business owner, a financial educator, and a tax professional. She is the CEO of Sparks Financial and Logistics Limited, based in Georgia in the United States of America. You're welcome, Abena Nuamah Yeboah.
Thank you, Pastor.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm very glad to be here.
I was just looking at the acronyms and ANY.
Yeah.
That is any. Anything goes.
Yeah.
Why? I don't think so. So who is Abena Nuamah Yeboah?
Abena Nuamah Yeboah. So I am a wife, first of all.
Okay.
I'm married to an amazing young man. I've decided that he's a God employee.
Okay.
So that's who he is. We've been married for almost 4 years in July. I come from Ghana, born in the eastern region, raised in Accra, and then also raised in Denver, Colorado for the majority of my young adult or my adolescent and young adult life. I am, like you said, the CEO of Sparks Financial and Tax and Logistics in Lawrenceville, Georgia. I am also the co-founder of Smart Money Academy, also here in Georgia, and Connected Inc. And I am also a partner in Touching Lives Home Care and Touching Lives CPR. So that's a little bit about myself. I enjoy church. As you know, I am always in church. My husband and I serve under the leadership of Reverend Yaohene Asamoah at Jesus Power Assembly of God Church, also located in Lawrenceville. We love to be in church and we love to empower people.
Beautiful. Can you tell us about your time at Colorado University and then Deloitte?
Yeah. So right after high school, I went to Colorado State. Initially, I always tell the story and people think it's funny, but I went to pursue pharmacy.
Okay.
Because, you know, as we all know, when you live in the U.S., one of the highest industries or the most sought after industries is the health industry. And so I went to college thinking that I wanted to be in the health industry. Nevertheless, I really enjoyed chemistry in high school, so I only thought it would be best for me to be a pharmacist. So I went in as a pharmacy major, only to find out that I couldn't pass chemistry. So
sorry about that.
And so I had to quickly change my course. And so I switched to accounting, which I really enjoyed math. So I love math and I loved chemistry. So because I couldn't pass chemistry at that point, I figured let me try math and see what that comes out of it. So I switched my major to accounting, which was amazing. I enjoyed doing it. Right after that, I was recruited by Deloitte and Touche to come work for them. So I interned with them during my undergrad. And then after that, I started working with them. So I worked with Deloitte for 3 years until I became a senior, and then I left.
You became a senior and you left.
Yes.
Wow. Congrats. Deloitte and Touche, it's a global, let's say, consulting firm of a sort. So that's beautiful. And you work with SunTrust Bank.
Right.
Tell us about that.
So after I was with Deloitte for 3 years, actually I was with Deloitte for 4 years. So right after my 4th year, when I had become a senior, the opportunity came for me to move to Atlanta. Okay. So with Deloitte, I was auditing. Majority of my companies were out here in Atlanta or in Georgia. So it made me fall in love with the state and its climate and everything. So when the opportunity came for me to work with SunTrust, which is a regional bank here in Georgia, now called Truist, I took on that opportunity. It was something different from what I was doing with Deloitte, because with Deloitte I was auditing. But with SunTrust, the opportunity was for me to be on the other side. So I became the client that was being audited. So I was preparing their financial statements and then getting them ready for audits. So then I joined SunTrust. I stayed with SunTrust for 5 years. I worked in their financial reporting department for 3 years, and then I moved into risk management.
Wow, that's great. So why did you decide to quit your job at SunTrust and start your own business? Wasn't that very risky?
Very, very risky, especially when I made that decision. I was in risk management. So
interesting.
You can only imagine. But at a very young age, I always knew I wanted to have my own business of some sort. I didn't know what it was. And like I said, originally I was going into my adult life thinking I was going to be in the healthcare system. But once I got into the corporate world and I started reading a lot, I realized that in life, one of the only ways, and the reason I said one of the only ways to be wealthy as far as financial wealth is concerned in this country is by having your own business. And so I did a lot of research and I realized that a lot of these top dogs that we mention their names, majority of them started their own business, and that's why they are where they are. So for me, it only made sense that since it was a passion of mine that I would go ahead and pursue it. Whilst I was in corporate, I started my tax practice. God being so good, when I was in college, I interned with a Ghanaian in Colorado who happened to be my business partner, Mr. Frimpong, Anthony Frimpong. He has a tax practice in Colorado. So I interned with him, and it opened my eyes to, the kind of resources that we can also provide to our community as Ghanaians and as Africans. So as soon as I moved to Georgia, I made up my mind that I was going to start a tax practice and an audit practice since that was my background. So whilst I was working with SunTrust, I started my practice.
Do you follow African politics?
A little bit.
What about Ghanaian politics specifically?
A little bit.
Africa is endowed with so much resources, but it appears we are lagging behind in a lot of things. From where you stand and with your over 20 years of stay in the United States, what would you say is the major problem of the African people?
Interestingly, my dad and I were talking about this just last night. It's the mindset. Personally, we were driving home and I was asking him what would happen if we tore down all of the billboards in Ghana. What would happen if all of the people on the street were taking off the street that sells things on the street? What would happen? Because the reason I was thinking that way was, as I was driving, I was hungry, and I told my brother, I was like, okay, if this was Ghana, I could have just rolled down my window and called a hawker and gotten something to eat. But the unfortunate part about that is, even though that is it's easily accessible to me, right after maybe I was done drinking that sachet of water or eating that egg, I would have probably dropped, a bag or something on the floor. And all of these things is what is affecting our community. But I believe that it's a mindset, because you can't do that here, right?
Okay.
It doesn't matter that you stopped by the roadside and bought a bag of peanuts. You would not be able to put a shell on the floor. Why? Because you don't see shells on the floor. And systems have been put in place to help you think that way. So your mindset has been changed or has been transformed as a matter of the systems that are there. So for me, I think the biggest thing could be two things. It could be the lack of systems, in proper systems in our communities or in our countries, and the mindset of the people. Because you will talk to an African and they will tell you, well, it's not my father's business, why do I have to care? Because our minds are not where it needs to be. And so we just do things anyhow. I don't know where the genesis of it is, but I believe that where we are now and seeing everything that's going on around us, we can change our mindset and we can decide that this is how I want things to be done, and it will be done that way.
You mentioned systems. I don't know if you've been following Fix the System and Fix the Attitude brouhaha going on in Ghana. I believe that whether face the country or face your attitude, there's a fixing. But it must start from somewhere.
Right.
So which one should come first?
Systems.
Fix the system
No,
and fix the attitude.
systems should always come first. Because without systems and structures, people will do anything that they want.
But the politicians have the view that, well, we try to put the system in place, but the attitudes of the people will not make the system work.
Because the systems have not been put in place just yet. I know that when I overspeed, if I get in my car and I run a red light, there's a high probability that I'm going to get a ticket. And so when I run the red light and I get pulled over by the cops, I shouldn't be upset. But there's always a consequence. But if I run a red light today and there's no consequence, I run a red light tomorrow, there's no consequence. What's stopping me from running red lights all the time? Because there's nothing there's no consequence for my action. So I believe that these are some of the things that needs to be put in place in our countries to help, change people's mindset, and also to help fix the country. We say fix the country, yes. There has to be very harsh consequences for people to change. The leniency, I believe, is just a bit too much.
You think we are lenient?
I believe that we're extremely lenient. The things are unnecessary. We penalize useless things, for the lack of a better word. You would hear stories of people getting very long sentences for very maybe trivial crimes. But then the real crimes that needs to be punished, or the kind of sentences that needs to be given to these people that are committing real crimes, are not being given to them. And so it's not deterring anyone from, doing anything better. So I believe that if the systems that are put in place and those systems work, then it will help fix the country to a certain extent.
Do you think politicians are the problem of Africa?
I think people are the problems of Africa.
And not politicians?
Politicians are people.
Well, anyway, but many people will blame the difficulty, the challenges of Africa on our politicians.
I think people are the problem.
What about religion? Many people have blamed Africans' problem on religion.
I don't believe that religion is the problem. The reason I don't believe religion is the problem is, I don't know, maybe it's just my mindset. I'm in, you know me, I'm in church a whole lot, but I'm also working a whole lot.
Sure.
So I don't know if it's religion as in you feeling like you have to be in church in order for you to receive your breakthrough, or somebody pressuring you to be in church. Like, where is that religion playing a factor? You know what I'm saying? People choosing to go to church versus going to find a job, that's not the fault. That's you as a person. You have your priorities misplaced. I don't think that it's necessarily religion. I do believe that pastors have a very important role that they need to play, because I think pastors can go a very long way by shaping the minds of people, that when they stand in the pulpits and they preach, they make these things available, or these, kind of myths be very clear to their people, that, listen, don't spend all day in church when you're supposed to be at work. Don't leave work when you have work to do and say you're going to an all-night or you're going to a prayer meeting. Bible talks about balance. There's time for everything. There's a season for everything. And so you as a Christian, maybe you just don't understand what the Word of God say. But I believe that we as the people, we need to change first. We need to change our mindsets.
I believe that we will need you in Ghana. What do you think? $1 million on the table. Go back to Ghana, help the country. Would you?
Offer me $100,000 and I'll move tomorrow.
Oh, 100,000. That sounds like a good citizen. Do you get worried about the situation going on in Ghana? Everything appears to take a political twist.
It's very heartbreaking. It's very, very heartbreaking. And I wish that we would take that power away from the politicians.
How
because
would
we
we do
give
that?
them too much power.
Let's say you're a minister or you become the president or somebody in a higher office. What would be the number one thing you would like to change?
The number one thing I would like to change is empowering the private sector. I
Why?
think the private sector is what is going to hold the country to where it needs to be. In the U.S., they value, and you know this, they value small businesses a lot. Even amidst COVID, why are they trying to keep small businesses and businesses in general afloat? Because that's what powers the economy. That's what fuels the economy. That's what puts food on the table for the average person. So I believe that if we, as a president, if you can empower the private sector, the private industry, push in more funding in that area, then that way people will have the opportunity to build more factories, to open more jobs, build up the economy, and be able to employ more people. The stress would be taken off, the backs of the politicians or off the backs of the government.
I've been talking to Abena Nuamah Yeboah, the CEO of Sparks Financial and Logistics Limited, located in Georgia in the United States of America. Finally, can I say you are rich?
Sure. I want
You
to
are.
be rich, yes.
You want to be or you are?
I am.
You are rich.
I am rich.
Okay, so other Africans, other Ghanaians living in the States and other parts of Europe and the world over would also want to become rich. What advice would you give to them? How do we become rich? I want to be rich. In fact, richest. How do we do that?
There's a scripture in the Bible that says the gold, the silver is mine.
Mhm.
And all of that belongs to God. So
Okay.
for me, I believe that the first thing is relying on God.
But some people
Solely.
don't believe in God, but they still want to be rich.
Well, then
in fact, there are people who don't even believe in God. They are rich.
I would tell you that their riches has an end. But if you want riches that has no end, then try my God. Try him first. If you rely solely on the blessings of God, that is what makes man rich. And Bible says it adds no sorrow. I have tasted it and I know that it's real. So that would be my first advice. The second advice is be authentic to yourself. God does not bless a fake person. So if you want God to bless you with riches, if you want God to bless you with wealth, then
Say
be
that
true.
again. God doesn't bless a fake.
A fake person.
But there are a lot of fake people on social
They're
media.
not being blessed by God.
But they look blessed.
So we know that the world of social media is very fake. I live there, I've been there, and I'm still there. And I know what we put out there for people to see. There's so much behind the scenes that people don't know about. So if you think that you know someone's wealth, or the amount of wealth that someone has based on what they're showing you on social media. Rich people don't show anything on social media, because when you're truly happy, I think that space really becomes irrelevant. So I would say, trust in God first,
Okay.
and then be authentic to yourself.
To yourself.
Be true to who you are and live your purpose.
Be true to who you are and live your purpose.